Hi, everyone. So I am going to be doing the new graduate licensure presentation for you. This is going to be for anyone who maybe you've missed the presentation with your Louisiana PT or PTA program, or perhaps even you're from out of state and you're going to be applying for your initial license here in Louisiana. So this presentation is for you. The first place we're going to start is the board website. That's www.laptboard.org. You should be able to see it there at the top of my screen. This is our board website. So we've got a lot of information on here. Give you a little quick scroll. This is just the landing page, as you can see, but a lot of tabs, a lot of information. So as you go through this process of becoming a licensee and after becoming a licensee, get well acquainted with it. There's a lot of useful information here. We are going to start with the new applicants tab, however, for all of you. So new applicants, application instructions. So you're applying for your initial license. You're not licensed anywhere else in any other US state or jurisdiction. So this is where we're starting. At the top here, I want to bring attention to the red letters. All applicants must complete the online application prior to starting the background check process. This is very important. As at the time of me re-recording this, we have a new background check process, which is a lot speedier than our old one. So it's very important that you apply first online before you begin that background check process. The reason why is we can't receive background check results without having an online application first. It's a legal thing. We just cannot keep those results if we don't first have an application on you. So you'll want to make sure to note that as you go through this process and don't go out of order in that regard. Now, I also want to make sure that I make you aware that when you begin your application online, you want to go ahead and have your FSBPT ID handy. You're going to need to put that on the application. There's going to be a spot for it, and I'll show you, but just want to make sure you're aware. If you are in a PT or PTA program, your program's already completed the setup of an FSBPT account for you, so you do have an ID, I promise. Quick notes as we keep going and start the application instructions reading. Processing time. So I just want to make you aware that as your new grads, you're probably starting this application process in advance of you graduating. So for you, it may take a couple of months from the time that you start to the time that you pass your exam and actually receive your license. So we do put up on here that it can take up to 4 months or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to, depending upon the time which you start the application and when you actually have all of your documentation ready to go. So that is an estimate. Don't let it scare you, but you just want to be aware that it's not something that just happens overnight. As well, status updates. You want to check the status of your application by logging into your dashboard. I'll show you that information as well. And give us some time to post information once it's received. Our licensing analyst is very fast, and when she does receive information or documentation for your application, she will post and let you know through your dashboard or your applicant checklist that she's received it. She'll also use that to communicate if she's got any questions for you. So you just want to make sure you're keeping an eye on that periodically through this process. And then before we get going, the last thing is pre-employment planning. So we do encourage you to avoid accepting a concrete start date for employment prior to the issuance of the license to practice in the state. We are working very diligently and hard to get you licensed and ready to go into the profession. But sometimes, you might give the employer a start date of say, oh, Monday the 2nd, but you don't have your license yet. So you just want to be wary of giving concrete start dates and understand that until you actually have a license, you just don't want to promise something you can't fulfill. All right, so those are my reminders to start off. We are going to be going into the initial examination CAPT graduate instructions because you are all new graduates getting ready to enter the profession. This is you. We're going to click on that here. And at the top, we've got some resources. So the journey map is something you can take a look at. Click on that resource. It takes you to FSBPT's website. If you put in your program, your PT or PTA program, and the state that you're wanting to apply in, it's actually going to show you a map that shows you who is responsible, what entity is responsible for what at what step. So is it the board responsible for something? Is it you, the applicant? Is it FSBPT? It's a very helpful resource, so we like to point that out to you. As well, we are an alternate approval pathway state. And so this information right here, you can click on that. It gives you some information about that. But basically what that means is that we as a state board are not responsible for making you eligible to take the MPTE. It's actually FSBPT who could do that. And that's a bit faster than it used to be in the past. So that's a good thing. And then ADA accommodations. If you are currently receiving ADA accommodations in your program and you think you may need them on the MPTE, there is information here that you can click on, and that will take you to FSBBT again, because they will be the ones you need to request those accommodations for, from. And then lastly, we have a posted example application. So if you want to know what a completed application looks like at the end, you can take a look at that in advance, and just that way you'll know going into it. So I'm not going to reread the instructions here in red. This is again about the background check and the importance of making sure that you do the online application first. Okay. So you can read all of that yourself. And I do recommend that when you get ready to actually apply, you look at these details, these instructions in detail, because everything is listed out here step by step. I'm going to be going through it a little abbreviated and showing you. If you're like me, I'm a visual learner. So yeah, let's do that real quick. So at the bottom of the page, it says apply for a license. You could actually, right now, we're going to focus on setting up an account. So you are going to be a new applicant. I'm just about to show you this information. But before we go into it, I also want to make sure to give you a little reminder. We recommend that you use a personal email address, not a university email address. In a lot of the programs we speak to, they let us know that when you graduate, you actually lose access to those university accounts. So we do highly recommend that you use your personal email address. Now, step one instructions that I'm going to cover with you, we're going to talk about the online application and how we're going to go about that. We're going to talk about the jurisprudence exam, the minimum data set, and privacy statement. It sounds like a lot, but I promise you this is actually very quick. And all the stuff you can do on your own. So first things first is we're setting up an account. So I've got a new tab here that I opened up. We got here by clicking the login button in the upper right corner and then clicking no account, sign up. So there we are. I'm going to go right here. So if you look, we've got two account types. You are going to be a new license applicant. It's going to give you a little notice here. You've chosen to do this account. This was not your intention, close it. And that's because we have two account types. For our compact privilege users, they have a separate account. Those are folks who are licensed in other jurisdictions. They have homes in other states, and they're just coming to Louisiana on a temporary basis, and they're getting compact privileges. You may have heard about the compact. If you got questions about that, contact our office. We're not going to cover that right now though. So you're going to click new license applicant. You're going to fill out the information, and then you are going to log in for the first time. Now, I previously created a little account here that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and log into it through here. Okay. So now we've got the application checklist. So this is your quote unquote dashboard, my dashboard. This is where you're going to go every time while you're in the application process to take a look at where you are. The checklist is going to be updated by our licensing analyst. She'll put notes in here of, I've received this, good to go, etc. So this is where you want to keep an eye on that. So step one, though, at the top is the online application. Underneath us, the jurisprudence. As you make your way through this process, you're also then going to get access to what's called the minimum data set survey. This is a workforce survey. It's not a big deal, especially as new graduates. You may not have as much information to report as someone who's been practicing for a while. The big note I'll tell you about the minimum data set is that you're not going to have a license number to report. I get that question sometimes. So with that, you don't need to worry about it. Just put NA on anything that you don't have information for and just keep going. But you are required to complete that survey before you can finish up your application. And then after that, you're also going to get access to the privacy statement. The privacy statement is just telling you, the legal terms, how we use information, et cetera. We just click that. It's a very simple thing. All right, so let's take a look first at the online application. So we got a little note there to read everything. Basically, it's just telling you how to use the back buttons and how this works. So we're going to continue to the application. You are initial examination captain graduate, so we're going to keep that one selected as it already is. From here, you're going to either be select PT or PTA, depending upon who you are. Now, I've previously entered some information on this application, so this is going to make this a little faster for us to look at. I want to make note that when ours, you have to put your last name before your first name. So just make sure you're paying attention to that and you actually put that last name first. If you don't, we will have to send the application back to you to make a correction, okay? And then for your middle name, if you have a middle name, please put your full middle name, not a middle initial, okay? If you don't have a middle name, then you can just put NA because not everybody has one. This box right here is where the FSBPT ID is going to go. So make sure, again, like I said before, that you have that available to you. You can put that in there. If you enter all zeros, we are going to send it back to you. So please don't do that. Please make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing. And then this is your social security number. This obviously is not a real number, but again, this is safe, this is secure, and your information will be protected. From here, very simple: place of birth, your date of birth. You have the ability to tell us if you're active duty military or active duty military spouse. This really doesn't affect new grads as much as it affects our reciprocity applicants. So, but that is there for you, and you can give us that information. From here, your email address. Again, we talked about using a personal email, so make sure you do that. Home address. This is actually our office address. Keep in mind, this information that's entered in here previously, not all of this is real. This is just placeholder. So primary work address. For here, you see I've entered unemployed. As students, you likely don't have a primary work address that's relevant to the world of physical therapy. So something in healthcare related. You probably are not working right now. We understand that. So you can put unemployed right there. So that's, mostly our reciprocity folks are what's using that more than you. From here, your preferred mailing address. I usually advise folks to check home address. I think this is far more common. This is how we're going to communicate to you if we had to send you snail mail, physical mail. So home address is generally the one you want to choose. Employment history, similar to above. As students, we don't really expect that you have a whole lot of employment history that would be relevant to physical therapy. So if you have something like maybe you were a tech before, then you can put that information, or maybe you're a PTA right now and you're doing the program to become a PT, so you can put your PTA information in there too. But for the other folks who don't have any, that's okay that you don't have employment history. We're not asking you to put in stuff like if you're working as a barista or something on the side, that you don't have to report, okay? So that is the end of step one. And then we move on to part two here. So I just put in one of the PT programs that are in the state. This is LSU NOLA, and put in the information. So your major, physical therapy, your degree that you're going to get at the end. And then I want to make a quick note under PTA program. Please put the name of your program. Some folks sometimes will just put PT program or PTA program. We actually want you to put the name, and it doesn't have to be, the full name. Like maybe you're at Fran U or something, and so you don't want to put the full Franciscan University, etc. Just let us know. You can put Fran U, PT program, Fran U, PTA, LSU NOLA, LSU Shreveport, something like that. But just let us know where you're coming from. And then below that, you can add in any other education you have. If you have a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, etc., you can put that information here as well. Okay, we're going to keep moving, and we're going to go to number three, or part three, which is record of licensure information. Now, as we have started off at the top of this presentation, you know that you don't have any license anywhere else. So you don't have anything to report here. That is fine. This is only if you were licensed somewhere else. And if that were the case, you would actually be applying via reciprocity. So that's entirely different. So you don't have to put anything here. You can just click save and continue. Record of examination. So here we have the MPTE entered, the jurisdiction that you're going to be taking it through, which I think for most of you who are watching this, probably going to be Louisiana. That way we get your exam scores directly. And this, again, just a placeholder date. I'm not sure when the dates in 2024 will actually be. So that's all the information you really need to put here if you're registered already. You don't have to put your confirmation number if you don't have it at handy or whatever. And if you're not registered yet, you don't have to be prior to applying. You can just go ahead and leave this information blank. But if you are registered, we do ask that you go ahead and put the basic information in here, so we just have an idea and it can expect, sort of when we're going to receive scores or whatever. Okay, so we're going to click save and continue. All right. So this is our questionnaire. Now these questions, the first one there. Have you ever had an application for any business, trade, or professional license, certification, or permit refused or denied by any licensing or certifying authority? These questions are used to just make sure that we are getting all the pertinent information we might need. I want to make notice of question 10 right here, and I am going to go ahead and read it for this recording today. Have you ever been cited for, arrested for, or charged with violation of any law or pled guilty or nolo contendere to any violation of any law in court, whether or not a sentence has been imposed, suspended, or pardoned other than a case that was resolved in juvenile court? If yes, please provide a personal statement providing a clear description of facts related to the circumstances that led up to the citation, arrest, or charges. In addition, if applicable, attach a certified copy of the court records regarding your conviction or plea, the nature of the offense, date of discharge, as well as any other documentation you would like to submit related to the incident. So all of these questions are kind of in relation to determining if there's any past history that you have that we might be concerned about or would be a concern entering the profession. Read each one carefully, answer honestly, especially for number 10. So as it said, you're going to be asked to provide a statement. That's where you're going to do that right here. I recommend you be as detailed and as honest as you can. Always be honest. We're not going to hold honesty against you, but just remember you're entering a healthcare profession. You do have to go through a background check. So if there's anything in your history, we are going to see it. And one quick note about expungement. Sometimes we have seen some folks who thought that things were expunged from their background checks and were surprised to find out when we received the results, they actually weren't. So that might be something you just want to be aware of. Possibly consult your documentation. If you have an attorney previously and you have something you're concerned about, consult with them to determine that. But I guess it's a cautionary tale to be careful when you're told that something is expunged, because unfortunately, sometimes we see that it's not. And our advice is to be forthcoming. But again, just something to be aware of. So after you have answered and provided your statement there, then in question 10, we're asking that you provide an affidavit, which if you've gone through any of this process, you should be familiar with. And then after that, we also have an additional upload field, and that's just if you want to share more information with us. You know, if you have more information you want to share with us, I'm just making sure I check no on all those, so we'll be able to continue. Then you can add an additional document. And then below that, we have the applicant's oath. This is your normal legal jargon statements letting us know that everything you provided is truthful and you're being honest to the best of your knowledge, etc. I'm not going to read all this to you. Please feel free to read this yourself as you go forward. And then you're going to get ready to electronically sign. When you electronically sign, please use your legal name. Please don't put your nickname. Please don't put your initials, that sort of thing. Your first and last name are sufficient. And then if you start the application previously and then you're coming back, like you see, I've had a previous date in here, go ahead and update the date to the current date when you're actually going to submit this, okay? Because it is a legal signature. We're going to save and continue. And then we're told here that, okay, you want to review your application, check it for accuracy. Okay, great. So we could click on that, and then we've got an opportunity to take a look at this application and be like, okay, is everything I entered correct? Did I make any mistakes? Because if so, you'll have the opportunity to go back. Okay, everything looks fine. I'm like, okay, that's good. Let's go. Let's move forward. You'll pay online, and we accept all the major cards: MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and American Express. You'll enter this information, and then your application fee is going to be calculated based upon your birth year. Now, if you may not have noticed previously, but I entered a birth year on here, a placeholder birth year that was an odd number year. It was 1989. So that calculated my fee to be, I'm applying an even year with an odd birthday. So I'm going to talk more about fees in a little bit, but just keep that in mind that that's the way it calculated my fees because of the years I'm applying in. It's going to give me basically a 1-year license if I were to get licensed in an even year. And that's to put me on the proper renewal cycle. Again, I'm going to talk a little more in detail about what that means towards the end, but I just want to make note of that real quick. So from here, let's just pretend I did put in payment and I went through. Excellent. And then it will come back to my application checklist. This will get checked off, and then I can begin the other steps, which is the jurisprudence, the minimum data set survey will show up, as well as the Privacy Act or privacy notice will show up. Okay, and so down here, after I do that, the application form will be checked off as completed, and then the payment will be checked off as completed. Those are done automatically, okay? So we're going to flip back real quick to the application instructions. If we've done all of those steps, then that is step 1, just like that. All of that you can do by yourself. Okay, step 2. So this one is where you have to get some information, or at least your transcript comes from somewhere else. So let's talk about that for a second. Your transcript. This is going to be an official copy of your transcript from your school/program, however you want to refer to that. You want to make sure that you are, some programs, let me back up, I'm sorry. Some programs are going to automatically send transcripts to the board office. Not all programs do that. Some programs require that you, the student, request from the registrar's office your transcript and tell them send it to the board office. you'll want to check with your program director to confirm which situation you're in, because it's not the same for all programs in Louisiana, or I would assume anywhere in the country, in case you're not in the state here taking or doing a program here. Okay, so you're going to request your transcript directly from the registrar's office, and you're going to have them either postal mail, or more commonly lately, send it via email to transcripts@laptboard.org. Please use this email address. If you use this email address, it will get to our licensing analyst and it will be processed timely. If you send it to a different email address, there could be a delay because we're not expecting transcripts to come anywhere else except for transcripts@laptboard.org. And that's why we have this in bright green here to draw your attention to it. Okay. And again, check with your program. Did they send it automatically, or do you need to request it? That's a question for them. Also, on the note of transcripts, when you request your final transcript from your program, you want to make sure the transcript states that the degree was conferred or awarded on X date. So you don't want to request your transcript prior to you being considered completed the program. You want to make sure you have graduated, whether that means you have to physically walk across a stage first, or it just means that they're waiting for all of your grades and credits to come in. That's a program question for them, which one is it? But essentially it needs to be the final version of the transcript, okay? Next, the passport size photo. So we say passport size because this is just the ideal size. It's basically a headshot, 2 by 2 inches, etc. Something very recent, ideally taken within the last 6 months of the application date. Applicants commonly use a passport photo, so they might go to CVS or Walgreens somewhere and get a little passport photo taken, and then just scan and upload that. Perfectly fine. Quick note on that, the photograph right here, once you've completed the application above, you're going to get the ability to upload your photo yourself. So that's going to change from NA to have an ability to upload. Okay, so come back over here. Quick notes about the passport is you want to make sure that the photo is only of you, the applicant. It doesn't include any family members, friends, pets, and we also want to make sure that you are fully dressed in the photo, so no tank tops or other revealing clothing. Really, it's just kind of like from the shoulders or neck up. That's all we're looking for, something that we can see your face. Similar to a driver's license photo, but not your driver's license, okay? So you will be able to upload that yourself. Please make sure you scan it. Don't take a picture of it with your phone. Any documentation, in fact, that you're sending to us, please don't take pictures of your phone and send those in. A picture of a picture is not always very clear. We are asking that you scan these items, okay? And a lot of phones these days, I know there's like apps out there that you can scan with the phone camera so that it comes through as a scan and not a picture. There's plenty of options though, whether that going on campus to your program somewhere, I'm sure they have library, have resources. Okay, and then the next thing for part 2, and this will finish part 2, is your proof of identification. So you have 2 options here. You can do the front and back of your driver's license or your passport. And, apologies, let me get that off my screen real fast. Your social security card. So you can do the driver's license front and back, or the passport and your social security card. So either of those 2 options for the proof of ID, in addition to the social security card. So your social security card, you have to submit a copy of that regardless, but you have a choice of doing the front and back of the driver's license, or state ID, I guess I should say, in case maybe you don't have a driver's license, or your passport. So you'll scan those and upload that as well. There is a space over here to upload that. I recommend, if you're able to scan those items together on one document, like in one sheet, that's ideal. If you're not able to, you can submit the scan sheets separately, or scan documents, should I say, it's usually PDF, separately. Just keep in mind, our licensed analysts will need to accept each one individually and then open it back up to you to scan something new in. So just be aware of that. If you're able to scan it all together, that is ideal. That's often what we see. Okay, that's step 2. We're going to move on to step 3, which for a lot of people, they're like, oh, the background check, that's the one I'm worried about. Okay. As of March 1st, 2024, we have a new process, a faster process. So if you heard something previously about the background check process, 6 to 8 weeks or processing time, whatever, let's not pay attention to that. This is starting as of March 1st, 2024. This is our process. Now, I'll draw your attention real quickly to our disclaimer here. We do have a disclaimer that we are required to have as of this statute. And that basically is letting you know how we use the information can be used on the basis of, acceptance or denial, issuing a license. And you do have the option to request a pre-application determination, which basically means that if you had something in your history and you're a little concerned about how it may affect you being issued a license, you can provide that information to the board office in advance of applying and request that they give you, or excuse me, we give you a determination of whether or not that's going to actually affect you. So you do have that option. Usually it's probably done prior to you getting to the point of, actually applying for the license, but you can do that at any point. That is your right, your choice. Okay. We also have the Privacy Act statement regarding the background check and non-criminal justice applicants' privacy rights. I won't click on each one of those, but they are there for you to look at as you do this. Take a look at them, review them. So let's discuss the instructions. Right here is where we're going to go to forms and procedures. This right here is just kind of letting you know the history of when we started doing background checks. So the first thing is going to be the forms and procedures. I want to first click on the fingerprint service code form. So this is very important. This service code, you must have this. When you go to sign up, to make your appointment, to do your background check, you need this code. It is a unique code that lets them know that the results of the background check are being released to the Louisiana Physical Therapy Board, okay? So make sure you make note of that. You're gonna see it again, but this form in particular has it in big bold letters. Below that are the different options you have for ID, which are acceptable when you go to do your background check. So I won't read each one of them to you, but you can take a look at those and know which IDs they will accept when doing your background check, okay? So that form there is important. Let's go back, however. I'm going to start with in-state applicants. I will be honest, out-of-state applicants, it's really not a whole lot different. So, keep in mind, you can look at that one separately. I'm going to focus on our in-state folks at the moment. Same thing here. So we are doing our background checks through Identigo Endemia. This is in partnership with Louisiana State Police. So this whole process was given to us by the Louisiana State Police. This background check you're doing is a federal background check, national. So anything at all, if it happened in another state, we will still learn about it if it's on your history, okay? So step one is you're going to go to this website right here and use that service code that we talked about to identify that we are the agency who is requesting the background check, okay? You need that code. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make it absolutely clear. When you're on this website, you're going to select schedule or manage an appointment. You're going to make an appointment at an office location that is convenient for you. It's a very simple process. When we've looked at the major cities where these programs are, the PT and PTA programs, there have been multiple location options for you folks to go to get your background check done, okay? So when you go to an Indentigo office, they're going to verify your identity and your prints are going to be obtained via live scan technology. You'll pay directly for the service at the site. You can pay with a credit card, a check, a money order. If you do checks, they need to be made out to Endemia or IDemia, excuse me, or Indentigo. Once you have completed the appointment, the prints are electronically submitted to the Louisiana State Police and the background check will be processed. This Louisiana State Police will send the results via a secure interface within approximately 3 days. I think right now, when we first started, it's been about 3 to 5 days, and that may get shorter as time goes on. This is a brand new process for us at the time of this recording. The current fee for state and federal live scan will be $60.75. Occasionally, the fingerprints do not go through well and are rejected by the FBI and Louisiana State Police system. If this occurs, you will receive an email from Idemia letting you know that you must reschedule an appointment and be fingerprinted again. You must use the link provided in the email to reschedule another appointment to avoid being charged again for the fingerprinting service. Remember that. If this happens, use that link you receive. A list of the identification of documents and the service code, I already showed you where that form is and where it's provided. The system is very easy to use. We have had no complaints, no issues so far, but I just want to make note down here. If you have any questions, you need assistance to schedule an appointment, there's a phone number you can call and then the hours that they are available, okay? And again, this process is not that much different for out-of-state applicants. However, we do have another one right here for you guys to read and look over. It looks like the fees are slightly different if you're out of state. But again, the process itself, not that much different. So I'm not going to read this one in the same detail that I did the other. I will let you, if you're an out-of-state applicant, take a look at that. It is available to you. Now, for in-state applicants, the current fee, as we said, $60.75. And then for out-of-state, it's up to $60.75 plus an additional $39.99 convenience fee. And I'm assuming it has to do with the fact that you're out of state. Again, privacy notice. We have this available here as well. We have completion time. Background checks are valid for 90 days upon receipt from the Louisiana State Police. And that's without an application submitted to the board. But again, remember, we told you we have to have an online application for you, okay, before we get those results. We don't want it to be in reverse. If they are in reverse, we're not able to keep those results if we have the background check first before the online application, and you might have to do your background check again, and no one wants to do a second background check, okay? And again, there's just some further information down here, the statutes. You might want to read this if it's incorrect or incomplete criminal history record. If you believe anything is incorrect or incomplete, the procedures that you can take to address that. Okay, that is the background check process, and that's the one that kind of makes people most nervous, but I don't think you need to be nervous. This is honestly probably the easiest that I think I've ever seen it, so this is good, you guys. Okay. Lastly, we're going to skip the MPT notice because I've already told you about us being an alternate approval pathway state. And then lastly, we have the optional apply for a provisional license. Okay, completely optional. Not all new graduates are going to do this, but some may. So if you have a completed application, you have sent us everything, we've received it and marked it as approved, with the exception of you taking and passing the MPTE, then you are eligible for a provisional license, okay? That provisional license is good for 90 days, and that allows you to work and practice in the state of Louisiana. But again, only good for 90 days. I'm going to show you the form here in a second so you know what you're looking at, but I want to make some notes. So this form, it's called the supervisory request form. It must be submitted no fewer than 5 business days, and this does exclude weekends and holidays. So no less than 5 business days prior to your employment start date. Fill out the form online, print, and then please do not fill out by hand except for the signatures, because we've actually made this fillable entirely online, and it just helps us with legibility. And I don't have the best handwriting, so I know that this is helpful. This sort of thing is very helpful to me too when I'm doing this sort of thing. So next, for each supervisor in each work location, a separate form is required. So we do see some new grads, excuse me, who are maybe working in 2 locations and have 2 different supervisors. That's fine. We don't have any problem with that, but we need a form for each supervisor at each location. So if you got multiple supervisors, multiple forms, multiple locations, multiple forms. Again, it's fine. We won't tell you no, but just make sure that you submit all of them, okay? And then when you're selecting your issue date for your provisional license, you are encouraged to consider the date that you will sit for the MPTE, because your provisional license is only good for 90 days. So if you are not sitting for the MPTE, maybe you decide to take it much later in the year for some reason, but you get a provisional license 6 months in advance. I can't think of a scenario why that would happen, but I'm just putting it out there. You will not be able to get more than 90 days. It is 90 days only, okay? And then we will issue these provisional licenses after all the application components are received and on the issue date entered on the form. The notice will be sent to you via email. Let's take a quick look at the form. Okay, so at the top here, we have basic information. It's going to be your name, the work site, the address, the parish, phone number, etc. The supervisor, how many other support personnel they're supervising, and how many, put that number here excluding you, the applicant. So the type of facility, again, this is a drop down. If you click on it, you can select there. Made it as easy to use as you can. We let you know what the requirements are for PT supervision, for PTA supervision, etc. And then you're going to print your name and sign it and date it. Your supervisor is going to print their name, sign it, and date it, as well as their license number. And then I want to draw your attention right here. We have 2 options for dates that you can enter, okay? There's a requested provisional license issue date and the date the applicant will begin practicing. The reason for this is that some facilities we have found, especially health hospitals, help, might be working in the hospital, maybe in a rehab hospital, et cetera. But we've noticed that some of them require you to be licensed just for onboarding, not even for actually treating patients. And so some folks found that they needed to get their license issued prior to the date they actually are going to begin practicing. So give us those dates. Obviously, this date will trump this one right here. And if they're the same, that's perfectly fine. Put the same on there. Be aware that if you request your start date for, say, a Monday, then the license is probably going to be issued to you on a Friday afternoon or some day, some part of Friday, because we don't want to do it too soon so we don't cut into your 90 days. Same thing for any other day of the week. It's going to be the day before, not many days in advance, because we're not trying to cut into the 90 days that you are allowed. Okay. And then that is the end of the process. Before I talk about fees, which will be the last thing, I'll make note that for supervisors of provisional licensees, this is a video you can share with those folks if they're like, I don't know if I can supervise you. I don't know what's involved. Well, here's a video for those folks if you want to share that with them, okay? Now, it says need a visual guide. The funny thing is this is a little inception. I am recording a new one right now, so we'll scroll past that. The fee schedule. So we talked about this earlier. Your fee for the application is going to be calculated based upon your birth year. So if you are an even birth year and you are applying in an odd application year, it's $250. The same if it's the opposite, odd birth year, even application year, $250. That's because you're going to get a 1-year license. This is the only time we ever issue a 1-year license, and it's to get you on the proper renewal cycle. Renewal cycles are every 2 years, excuse me, based upon your birth year. So an even birth year and an even application year would be $390, which is a 2-year license, and odd 2-year license, okay? $390, and it's plus a small processing fee, which I believe is $3. So that's the application fee, and that puts you on the proper renewal cycle, because if you're, say, born in, I don't know, 1996, and you would be eligible for renewal in 2024. If you're born in 1997, you're eligible for renewal in 2025. So odd with odd, even with even. And that gets you, like I said before, on the proper renewal cycle. New graduates are entitled to a CEU exemption their first year. And so don't be panicky if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a 1-year license and I'm up for renewal next year. You will have a CEU exemption, which makes you feel a little bit better. I do understand how that might feel. And I'm not going to go into deep information about renewals. That's other information that you can find. I'll just quickly note under the licensees tab, and this gets updated every year. So right now it just says 2024. But that information is on the website, as well as so much more information. So I want to encourage you again to um, look around the website, take a tour through everything, lots of information, videos, etc. Lastly, we'll just show you real quick again this applicant checklist. I've shown you where you're going to get the updates, where they go, upload fields for the photograph, proof of ID, etc. And then the last thing, if you're a new graduate, you're really not going to be using too much of part 2 except for the supervisory request form. You can actually upload this directly to your applicant checklist on your dashboard. You can also email it to the licensing analyst, but I think the vast majority these days are uploading it directly to the dashboard because it's just so convenient. And that is our licensure presentation for new graduates. I'm going to leave you on the page before I stop the video of our contact information here. So I think I forgot to say this at the top of the video. My name is Jessica Alwell. I am the Assistant Executive Director. I apologize for if I'm just now introducing myself and you've had to listen to my voice all this time without knowing. I'm here to give you this presentation. The licensing analyst, her name is Danielle Windsor. She's amazing, very fast. If you have questions after you've consulted your applicant checklist, she's the person you want to start with. You've got her email address here. You've got her contact number here, okay? I'm here as well. I'm happy to answer questions too. If for some reason maybe she's out of the office or you just have something else that you want to ask, totally fine. I do recommend you go to her first, but I can also answer questions for you related to the PT Compact, which some of you graduating may be interested in that, and also continuing education. So if any of those things you have questions about, you can reach out to us. But I'm going to stop our recording here. If you're watching, thank you so much. I hope that this helps you in getting you started on your journey to becoming a licensee in the state of Louisiana.